This segment of the Alice Stewart Show is brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing at 1-866-PLUMBER or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.
And we are back on the Alice Stewart Show, 7:35, 25 minutes before 8 o'clock. And bittersweet next half hour here, our final Young Guns. This has been my favorite segment of the program, where we talk to two awesome members of the younger generation and talk about the political news of the day. Joining us, Josh Blevins, former Young Democrats of Arkansas president and Blevins Investment Group chairman, and Jack Avery, Young Republicans of Arkansas chairman and Rich Products Corporation key account manager. Josh and Jack, great to have you here.
Good morning. This is also my favorite segment of the Alice Stewart Show.
Oh, good. Of course. And I'm sure it's Jack's as well.
Oh, absolutely, and thank you so much for allowing both Josh and myself to be here. It's been a fun time. I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversations and the debates we've had, and I appreciate you very much, Alice.
Well, I appreciate both of you and having respectful, really intelligent conversations and debate on these issues. And I'm sure you will live up to that top billing this morning as we talk about President Obama, and he's already looking ahead to 2015 and the new session. As we all know, the Republicans gained a few more seats in the House and gained control in the Senate. And in the past, the president has made it clear he has a pen and a phone to issue executive actions, as he's done with regard to immigration and some on Obamacare and other issues. Now, in an interview with NPR, he says he has a new pen. It is a veto pen that he plans to use in the event that Republican-controlled House and Senate send on bills to his desk that he doesn't approve of. And he says his veto pen is out and ready, and he is more than willing to use that pen to execute his veto powers. Here is President Obama.
I haven't used the veto pen very often since I've been in office, partly because legislation that I objected to was typically blocked in the Senate, even after the House took over, Republicans took over the House. Now I suspect there are going to be some times where I've got to pull that pen out, and I'm going to defend gains that we've made in healthcare. I'm going to defend gains that we've made on environment and clean air and clean water.
Josh, your thoughts?
I think it's good to hear that the president has his priorities in the right place. He has used the veto less than any president since James Garfield, and if you will remember, old Jamie G. died after just a few months in office in 1881. President George W. Bush issued vetoes 12 times compared to Obama's 2. He's made a lot of threats in the past of issuing vetoes. I think he's done it 18 times. But he does that as kind of a negotiating tactic and kind of the teacher on the playground that says, hey, you kids in Congress, play nice. I think it's great that he said, if the Republican majority in Congress wants to monkey with health care in such a way that it reduces the number of people who can now obtain it, that he is absolutely willing to issue a veto.
Jack, your thoughts?
Well, Josh is correct in that President Obama has only vetoed, 2 bills in his presidency so far. I do want to correct something that he said, though. President George Bush, even though he did have 12 vetoes, actually had none in his first term. He didn't issue a single one in his first 4 years. Another thing that Josh is absolutely right is he hasn't had to veto a whole lot because Harry Reid has sat on just about every single bill that he would want to veto. He's protected the president from actually having to make tough decisions. And what I find sad is now that the people of America have spoken and elected the largest majority of Republicans since 1929, the messaging from the president isn't, hey, let's talk about some of these issues and let's start tackling some of these issues that are affecting the United States. Instead, he's saying, I'm just going to go ahead and veto you guys. I'd rather them have constructive debate over the issues than rather already start issuing out threats to the newly elected Congress.
But they are coming together and talking about ways to compromise, and that's been a message you've seen from the White House since election night. What the president is saying here is, listen, there are some bedrock issues on which there's simply no room to budge if we care about the people who sent us here to Washington. 71% of new enrollees in the ACA say their coverage is good or excellent. We have a year after year downward adjustment by the CBO every single year. When was the last time that the CBO had a track record like that? And Arkansas leads the country in the number of uninsured that have been moved to the insurance rolls, which decreases everybody's health care costs. And has there been any kind of catastrophic hit to the state coffers? Well, Governor-elect Hutchinson is moving ahead with a $100 million tax cut. So apparently he doesn't think so.
Well, what's interesting about that, Josh, is, Arkansans overwhelmingly elected Republicans across the state to office, and the messages that we're hearing from Republican leadership, Mitch McConnell, John Boehner, really aren't talking about the Affordable Care Act. They're talking about getting more meaningful tax resolutions out there and reforming the tax code and creating jobs for the middle class and talking about the Keystone Pipeline. Instead, we see a diversion of conversation to the Affordable Care Act as though that is the main issue, but that even hasn't been the main topic of conversation from Republican leadership in Washington, D.C.
I want to interject this to get to another issue on the same topic in talking about bipartisanship. The president, he's the leader. The president's the one that would be the one to start the bipartisanship. And he points the finger to Republicans. While Republicans had a major triumph in November, the president said it's up to Republicans now to help bridge the gap. And they are the ones now that the president says need to govern. And here's the president on NPR about now the responsibility is on the GOP.
Now you've got Republicans in a position where it's not enough for them simply to grind the wheels of Congress to a halt and then blame me. They are going to be in a position in which they have to show that they can responsibly govern, given that they have significant majorities in both chambers.
Jack?
Well, you're right, Alice. The president does love to point his finger, and I am reminded of something he said back in 2009 when they were talking about the stimulus package. Republicans came to the Democratic leadership, including the president, on what they would like to see for the stimulus package, and the president quite simply said, "I won, you've got to work with me." Well, the Republicans won an overwhelming majority, and now the president has to negotiate with the Republicans. And the Republicans are going to pass meaningful legislation come January and put it on the president's desk, and he's going to have to make a tough decision and answer to the American people for those tough decisions.
Josh?
Jack's entirely right in that regard. The Republicans did win, and now they are in control, and the president is going to have to deal with what they put on his plate, and he said he's willing to do that. Just a second ago when Jack was talking about middle class jobs and the Keystone Pipeline, I'll admit that's the first time I've heard a Republican talk about the Keystone Pipeline in the past few weeks. But these are things that the president hopes we can achieve. We need jobs. We need revisions to the tax code, and these are incredibly important things that I actually hope the president and Congress can knock out in these next 2 years. Instead of finding those areas that divide us, we should be able to find meaningful middle ground on reforms to the tax code, and that is something that would benefit everybody in America, from the poor to the wealthy, and also American corporations.
I love the call.
We agree.
Yes. I love the call for middle ground when Republicans dominate both sides. But yes, it's important. It's time to everyone work together on the front end and find consensus and get good bipartisan legislation out there on the table. We're going to take a break, and we'll come back with the two awesome young guns, Josh Blevins and Jack Avery, right after this on The Alice Stewart Show. This segment of The Alice Stewart Show brought to you by Arrow Plumbing. For all of your household or business plumbing needs, call Arrow Plumbing at 1-866-PLUMBER, or you can schedule an appointment online at arrowplumbing.net.